This is P.L. Myers, the Shot to the Top, Pro Wrestling's manager extraordinaire. Well, it's time for you to get connected. You're watching Chicagoland Championship Wrestling here on Power 4 TV, where everything you're not and nothing that you'll be.
And welcome back once again to Powered4.tv. I'm your host, John Scott, joined again by Mr. John Bullard from Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. John, you know, for those people that might not know why we're back again, we had a part one. We had some internet issues, technology being what it is, of course, can't be helped. And we're back again to finish off because we were really getting and sort of diving into some stuff coming up. But you're back 1 week later. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, friend. I guess this is the equivalent of the 2 out of 3 falls. So
right.
We're trying to do our best to make sure
we may go for a 3.
But yeah, I'm doing good.
I'll let you pick the poison for the last match. I'll let you have the stipulation if it goes the third one. I'll let you call it on the fly.
Absolutely.
But no, I'm good, buddy. I'm good. UK is still as it was, really. Not much has changed. The weather has, though. It's gone back to being gloomy, grey and rainy. So typical UK weather, if anything. But I hope everything is well where you are in the midst of all this. But John, I wanted to sort of press on now to obviously Chicagoland Championship Wrestling and some of the stuff I was hitting on last time, which was, of course, you know, I've always sung your praises to just about anybody. And I always use the phrase, you know, studio wrestling with a modern day production, very much captures. And I spoke about last time about the whole cinematic feel, very, very much like Christopher Nolan films. For anybody that's a film buff out there, if you watch how that guy operates his camera, it's always moving on a still shot, if that makes any sense, but it's always moving. And that's what you guys captured really well. And you don't get that often a lot in wrestling, especially in the UK. It's very much chop and change angle, very much like a sports kind of production, I guess, to that. But you guys have got that really good captured feel where you feel like you're in the moment, and I quite like it. I really like the lighting as well that you had for that first show. There's something about the lighting. I watched it back a little while ago and I was like, the lighting is like such a key part, I feel, of the production. It's a small thing, and I guess casual fans wouldn't really read too much into it, but me being the kind of geek that I am for wrestling, those are very noticeable. But I think it was done very perfectly. But what I was going to add to that before we go on to the future show coming up, John, was that you guys, in terms of where you want Chicagoland Championship Wrestling to go and to be, given what you've done on the first show, obviously as a promoter, you've got to obviously go back, you watch it through. What's that like? I've got to ask that, because that must be, and not just Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, because obviously you've promoted before that, but I've got to ask you off the fly here, what is that like as a promoter when they, you know, you finally sit down, you know, you're absolutely exhausted because you've just done everything there, I imagine. You get back home, you put the tape in, and you watch it. Are you always kind of nervous? Are you your own worst critic? How is that experience normally for you?
Believe it or not, I'm probably my worst critic on things. Right. I think most successful promoters are. You know, we're never. Yeah. I hate to say it's like we're never satisfied. I never want to be like that. I was extremely satisfied how the show came out. There were some hiccups here and there. The PA system that we use wasn't the best of par. We bought a brand new PA system, so that should take care of that problem. We're working with some folks who have a lot of technical knowledge to make sure that everything that we do coming up is perfect for what it is. Talking about our camera work, Xavier Camacho is the man who deserves all credit for that. He
absolutely
may hands down be one of the best producers for the product of professional wrestling, because he could film in different styles. But when we first got together, I mentioned it to him. I was like, I watched you. What it was a match with my podcast partner Ewok.
Mm-hmm.
He recorded one of Ewok's matches and it was done cinematic, and I instantly was like, okay. When we hear cinematic, everybody thinks like WWE's Universe cinematic, and we're doing total opposite of what WWE's doing. It's not done
Yeah.
like WWE. It's done, like you said, like a Christopher Nolan film. And I told that to Xavier. I was like, I know this might sound weird, but I was like, how about we do an entire show in that film style? And he's like, that could be done. He's like, yeah, just let me know and I'll show up and we'll do this. And we'll be seeing what the product turned out to be. And it's probably of all the, I started promoting back in, like I said, 2012. So to look at what we've already accomplished with Chicagoland, it's amazing for what we've done. But yeah, there are times I'll sit back and I'll watch something and go, maybe if we just turn this up over here, turn this down over there, just be a little bit more perfect. But we had a lot of extreme positive feedback from fans and supporters, and also critics so far who've seen our show, and almost everyone has really liked it. And the lighting, the venue owner that we worked with, he actually did that. We had a bunch of lights on. He's like, what type of feel you're going for? I'm like, more of a gritty style. And he's walked over and tuned the light. Next thing you know, perfect. And some people there was one person made a complaint, not at the show. It was just someone watched the show and he's like, oh, your show is a little too dark for my taste. And I had to explain to him, I was like, well, we're not trying to do big, ultra bright light, professional wrestling that you're used to. I was like, you're a WWE fan? He's like, oh yeah. And I was like, well, we're not a WWE type product. We're the total opposite of that. And so for the fans who like the smoky ballroom aura of wrestling, I think we captured that very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right to first of all talk about cinematic. I know people that are maybe a casual fan of wrestling, they're automatically going to think WWE graveyard match or whatever else from WWE. That's not what I mean at all. I mean more in the film sense. But secondly, to your point about the fan that you said was a WWE fan, I mean, I can totally get where they're coming from, because WWE, it's like, let's light the crowd up as much as we can. With you guys, what I like, and you'll see this if you watch Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, especially at first one, is that you're going to see it. You pull focus. So for anybody that doesn't quite know, sometimes like we are on screen now, the whole thing is in focus, but it's not natural to somebody's eye line. Like when we go out, we pull focus, and the rest is kind of like blur. And that's what you guys have done. So like, the emphasis is on the wrestlers themselves, or the action, or stuff that you want them to go to, as opposed to, something going on to the side that's got nothing to do with the in-ring action. And I think, it's a small thing, and not everyone is even going to notice stuff like that. But for someone like me that's like very much interested in the production side of it, I mean, it was just straight. As soon as it come on, I was just like, hang on a minute, like look at the way it's shot. Also the cameras, the way they're used, it's a very skillful art to do. It's not easy. Like people just think, oh, he just hold a camera. It's nothing like that at all. It's the way it's shot. You can tell, the guys have done a great job beforehand and planning coming out and getting everybody's features. So yeah, my hat's off to those guys, John, and to all your team that worked on that, because it was like first class for me. But I think that's something that you guys, I mean, I can only see it getting better as you go along, because I think you're going to be able to add like so much more to it. Is there anything that you kind of want to enhance going forward? Is there anything new that you want to put into the whole experience of the show, both live and obviously video?
With video, I've actually been working on teaching myself how to do intro videos. So
Right.
we're doing kind of like really unique matchup videos. So before the match, we'll actually have the screen. Boom,
Right.
there you go. You see it, and so we're putting little twists and turns into what our product already is, but make it
Hmm.
just a little bit more unique, I guess you could say. Um, for the uh, for the live crowd show, uh, I think we're going to keep everything the same because it worked. People like that presentation that were there. I think for a lot of World Wrestling fans that were old school that actually truly appreciated, what we were doing, they understood it right off the bat. They were like, okay,
Yeah.
this is bringing back childhood memories. Not like we're trying to bring back childhood memories for people, but it
Hmm.
just resonated with that. And so I like to keep it with that. We're probably going to spruce up some things here and there. But it'd be like, we're buying a brand new ring apron, brand new canvas. We're getting custom curtains made. There'd be some things that would look a lot posh, but
Hmm.
not so posh where it takes away from the grittiness of the
Right.
presentation. So, no, we know what our bread and butter is, and it's for
Absolutely.
the wrestling fans who like gritty wrestling, not oh, you're here to see 5,000 flips and a comedy act. It's no, you're here to see violence and wrestling. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, we try to do our best to present that to our fan base, and most importantly, the thing that I think what I tell people this when they talk to me like wrestlers, I consider our promotion a storytelling promotion more than anything. To me, storytelling matters, and so
Hmm.
that's not just in ring, but also with how we present everything via our cameras and our commentators telling the story. So we try to get that across.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a good word. I love the word gritty. I used to describe that when I used to write some books back in the day. That's how I'd often get described, gritty, and I always had grey instead of black and white. But so I'm never a. I like Star Wars, but I don't like it because it always seemed too perfect.
Yeah,
And if I go back and look at a film like, say, the first Alien, or Blade Runner, something like that. It's very gritty. It looks like it's been worn down, like the stuff in it, and that's what I'm much more towards that. Especially as I've got older, I kind of appreciate stuff like that. And an odd analogy, I know, but in any case, John, moving forward. Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, you've got a date set in place. Now, one thing I want to just get into before we get straight there, how much with the whole pandemic going on at the moment, like I heard you talking on Wrestling Travel, it ain't as it was. Now you've got to put in some plans, you've got to send off various documents, I'm
yeah.
guessing. How much of a headache, because obviously being a promoter anyway, it ain't easy, and now this on top of it. Has this been a bit of a nightmare, or has this been straightforward? Talk us through the process now that you guys have got to go through to, I guess, provide them evidence or whatever they want that you're able to pull this one off.
So for us to run shows in the region that we're in, we have to work with our health board. So for the county health department to work with us, we have to write out our plan. That's explaining how many fans we're planning to have at a show, which is kind of crazy because like with wrestling, like fans will show up the door. So it's not like one of those,
Yeah,
oh, we're gonna have 150 people, and then you got 250 at the door, and it's like,
yeah.
eh, okay, but we have to write out our plan, how many people who's going to be working for us, how many people are wrestling for us. Uh, our show, of course, is at a Legion Hall, so it's like a bar too. So we have bar staff, we have people who are serving drinks, waitresses, and so it's one of those things that's like, okay, I have to not only work directly with the county health department, but I have to work right along with our venue uh, folks, and then we get all that information from them too. And then sometimes that can be a crapshoot because they may be like,
Mm.
we don't know who's going to be on staff that day. So then we have to set down our guidelines for protection of our fans. So what I did in my last show, I checked temperatures at the door. So we had everyone being checked. And that's from fans, staff, bar, whoever it was, we checked their temperatures. Then on top of that, we did our best to social distance our fans. Sometimes that don't work because fans want to like sit next to all their friends, so you're going to get a crowd of people. We provided masks for all of our fans. So even if someone said, "Well, there's someone who didn't have their mask on," I'm like, "Well, yeah, they had a mask in their hand. They're having a drink, but we did provide masks to anybody who didn't have one." And we also had hand sanitizer stations and hand sanitizer present for all of our customers. We also cleaned the ring before we even used it. We sprayed it down, made sure there was nothing that could get anyone sick. I made sure that all my employees had COVID tests before they came in a week before the show, so that way I had all that test results to know who needs to be there and who did not. Luckily for me, everyone passed their tests and they were good to go. So yeah, we take a lot of safety precautions with this, and we have to. The promoters who don't do that, they're jeopardizing not only their health, their family, and the staff, but they're also jeopardizing all their fans too. And the last thing as a promoter you want to do is get someone sick. Definitely on your own watch. That's the worst thing you can do to your fan base. So yeah, it's a lot of, to me, I'm not, I don't consider it like a bad thing. Like, oh no, I had to go through all this extra jumps. I see it as, okay, our county wants us to have an event, but they want to make sure that we're doing it the proper way. And to me, if I could do it the proper way and they're happy with it, then that's one less worry I don't have to deal with.
No, absolutely. I mean, it makes so much sense, I suppose, in the long run. And you're right. I mean, I've seen on a few occasions where I've seen, just browsing on social media, and I'll come across an event that took place, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't look like it was well prepared.
No,
And the other part of that, I mean, not only is it great risk to fans and staff, as you say, but it's also I think just the image it gives on other promotions in wrestling, like even to us here, like it just doesn't, it's not a good thing to see. It's not a good perception to have from the outside, especially because why I think it makes everything just look like, well, do you know what, we're so desperate to get back that we're going to run it at a risk of just having it. And then you find out, like, okay, what show was it? It was something that probably didn't even make much money. Like the purpose of it is just for the wrong reasons. I don't know. Wrestlers got fed up of sitting around and they wanted something to do. Like that's not a good enough reason to
not at all.
have fans coming in, especially, and putting on a show. Like as nice as they think they're being by thinking, oh, we're going to go out and entertain people. It's like you've got to be realistic. You've got to be responsible in these times. But I've seen that, as I'm sure you have as well. And I'm like, oh man, you know what I mean? It just doesn't look good. So I'm totally with you there. I know it is an absolute headache, and I guess depending on what state you're in or country or whatnot, everything's going to be totally different.
Yes.
And it's one of those things. It's either like sink or swim, because you either adapt and modify, or you're just going to
Recent.
end up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've seen. I'm not trying to get you off, Sean, but
No,
I
no,
do
you're cool, man.
I do want to put in. I have seen some shows recently that
Mhm.
I cringe at. I mean, I'm happy for them having fans, but it's like, oh well, here's 5,000 fans in one section, and it's like, come on, man. Like these
Yeah.
most of these people are not related to each other either, so it's like a
Mhm.
lot of strangers next to each other. At our show, what we did, we took the family 4-packs and we put a whole sections for families to sit around. So that way, it was like, who you sitting next to? Oh, family member, or a friend
Mhm.
that's personal friend that you know personally. And so it wasn't like, hey, we're gonna set random stranger with another random stranger. It's like, no, everyone in this one little tiny little box section. That's their people. Next people over behind them, that's their people. Like people will know, like, hey, I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to show up. Okay, well, if you're not feeling
Mhm.
good, I'm not going to show up either. But I've seen some of these other shows. It's like everyone's packed up on top of each other, not
Yeah.
knowing who the other person is. And I'm like, oh my god, if someone gets sick, that's going to give a black eye not only to us as
Mhm.
wrestling, but it's going to give a black eye to the county and the people who own the building for allowing that to happen. So I'm wanting to see everyone have success. I'm never going to throw shade at a promoter for trying to do what they do, but it's like, for the love of God, man, like,
Yeah.
just take a deep breath, slow down, and focus on stuff. It's like today, our partners in Mexico, Guerreros Aztecas Wrestling and Lucha Libre Boom, they let everybody know, like, in April they're planning to have the first live event in Mexico City, and so it's historical because they're slowly, hopefully, to reopen Mexico back up. And I've had people automatically ask me, oh, does that mean us Americans can come back down there? And I'm like, I don't know, because it's a country with regulations that, some countries are not allowing visitors. I mean, look at Japan right now. Japan has a huge spike in COVID, and they're not allowing Japanese citizens to fly, and they're not allowing anyone to fly in. So, for a lot of us who want to travel, and trust me, I can't wait to get my passport back again and hit up England, hit up Mexico, visit all you guys. But I do know I have to be a man of patience for that, because I don't want to bring something over to you guys, and I know you don't want, visitors getting sick either. So it's one of those things that, I guess, as a whole world, we just have to be patient with each other and take care of it when it's time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said there. And did you ever get, like, I know your intentions have always to come back and do the show. It was originally going to be, of course, around April time. But have you ever had that feeling of, like, let's do a no fan show, or has that never creeped into your mindset on a return?
I've thought about it, but I also thought about the cost of what it would do. And
Right.
as a promoter, not trying to sound like it's greedy, but as a promoter, we do have to have business sense on things, and how how are we going to recuperate? Because there's some promoters that, I hate to say this, not trying to knock over the fourth wall, but they are some promoters that are doing these empty arena shows, and talent are literally jumping up and down like, yeah, I'll work for free. And the thing with me is, I pay my talent. I pay my staff. I pay my camera crew. I pay everybody. Everyone's paid. And if for a company to have success, they have to have fans, and they have to have buy rates. They have to do things to keep their company going. If you're just running a show for the sake of running, and you're actually losing money, you're not going to be in business for long. So I would. And here's the thing too about it, John. I rather have a show with fans than hearing crickets. There's nothing better than a live audience that's rowdy, and they're passionate about what they see, and the talent feeds off of that passion. And our first show's prime example. You heard how rowdy that crowd was, and every wrestler who worked for me that night said, "Man, that was one of the loudest crowds I've ever worked in front of." And these are some of these guys that worked in front of 2,000-3,000 people. In our building, because it wasn't the biggest, but the building was so packed and was so loud. It was loud from bell time to finish, and everyone fed off of that. They're like, "This is awesome. If we could have a crowd like this every show, this is the best company to work for, because we're working for fans to actually appreciate what we're doing." And that's why I try not to do an empty arena show. Now, I might do a student showcase show, but I when it comes to the Chicagoland product itself, the fans what makes it. It really is. And to me, I got to know a lot of our fans. I have fun when I see them having fun, because they're enjoying what we're doing. So I've been kind of hesitant on trying to do an empty arena, because I like my live fans. I like them, and I also like the live fans be healthy and safe. So if I have to wait until this pandemic is about done with, then so be it. I'll be a man of patience.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I'll probably get a little bit of flack for this as well, but I think sometimes too many indie promotions have watched WWE and AEW, and they're thinking, oh, we could do that, or we could do cinematic matches. I've seen some of them on the independent level now as well, and I'm like, it makes zero sense for an independent local promotion to be running at a loss, wrestlers, talent working for free, putting everyone at risk just to get a show out and not be bored. I mean, but I've seen it, I've seen it. And I think unless you are a sustainable company where you maybe have an outlet of television and money coming in, revenue that way, like WWE does, weigh up the risk. I mean, it makes zero sense. So I'm totally with you on that. And just from a fan's point of view, wearing my fan cap, I don't enjoy wrestling without fans. That's the one thing I've learned about this. I mean, having one-off matches here and there, like Rock and Foley from years ago in an empty arena match, or Terry Funk when he did it, that's different. That's a one-off thing, and that's fine. But every single show, I've kind of learned now that how important fans are. They're a massive part of it.
The thing about those empty arena matches from that past, they were a gimmick. It was literally telling the fans this match might become so violent that your lives are at risk. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of when people are like, yeah, we're trying to do Lawler versus Funk, I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah, it's nothing like that.
So yeah, I'm
No,
right there with you on that.
Yeah, it's just something. I'm sure there are some people out there that actually prefer it more than having fans there, but for me, I just cannot get engrossed as I once could without just seeing reaction. And it goes to show you how important sometimes, I think, with any kind of entertainment or sport, like if you're watching it in your subconscious and fans are really rowdy or they're loud, even if I'm not reacting to it myself, if I see other people reacting to it, it kind of makes me like more into it than I probably would be without them doing it. A classic example would be for anybody to go and watch The Rock and Hogan. I mean, if that had no fans, I think people would be like, what have we just seen? What was that?
Exactly.
The fans were such a key integral part to it because of Hogan and the mass audience, the divide, everything else that happened. But if you had that without fans, it would never have come out like that at all. And I think we would have looked back at that very differently. But it's good points that you've raised there, my friend.
The way I kind of look at it too, John, is it's like if you go to a soccer game, and definitely with you folks over in England, you guys are loud, passionate. You have your songs, everything. If you don't hear that to a soccer player, that's really weird. It's like, okay, this is strange. Same as a theater actor. If you're doing a theater play and there's no one in the crowd, is it really a play, or is it just a rehearsal? To me, rehearsal ain't fun. The play is where it's at. So I feel the same way about all sports in general. The audience is it.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's hard to perform in as well, I think, without getting that instant reaction to knowing what you're doing is coming off right. It's one thing to do it through a lens, but you want that kind of vibe. You want to feel off it a little bit, the energy, where it's at. And especially if you're, trying to call it in the ring and, you're trying to suss out what's going down well and building and getting to a certain point. But without that, I mean, that's a hard job to do. And, I just, for me, it just hasn't been all that for me without fans. So I can't wait, even if it's just, I don't care how many people in the crowd, but like something is better than nothing. I tell you that much. Going forward with you guys, John, with your next show that you've got lined up at the moment. Of course, we've got the listings. I'm going to play them in the background to this as we're talking. But give us some of the rundown, some of the key matches that you guys are going to be putting on, and what we've got to look forward to here, buddy.
Well, June 12th, our heavyweight champion, the Shogun, Chris Logan, who won the heavyweight title in an epic triple threat match at our first show.
I've got to cut you up there. I was going to ask you this last time. I do apologize. That triple threat match, I've got a key question. When I was doing the review with John, I kind of was like, one of the thing I liked about it was there is elimination in it.
Yes.
Was that something that you specifically put in? Because I was all for it. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not massive on triple threats because I always think it shares out sometimes. It doesn't give that equal split. But when there's an elimination, it makes far way more sense to me from the point of view of, I guess, more sports capping where going into it with those eyes and logic to me as well. Is that something you specifically like, or you've put in your triple threats in the past? How did that come about? You adding that in, because it's very rare that I see a triple threat and you're going to have an elimination in it before you get to the final two.
Well, with me, that was, I guess, more of a product of a kid growing up watching wrestling from the past. When
Right.
I take mine more from the time I was a fan of Extreme Championship Wrestling, when they would do
Okay.
the triple threat matches that were elimination style, and I've always
Yes.
liked. I always felt the same way. It's like, oh, that makes logic because if you win, you won. You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted that, and that's really one of those other things that when we do matches like that, there'll be elimination styles because that's the way I
Hmm.
look at them. I never like the whole like,
Hmm.
oh, he pinned the one guy, he wins the match. It's like, yeah, but the other guy didn't get pinned, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
A
that's what.
lot of times. I was going to say a lot of times triple threats they kind of get made because they're going to just ultimately they just want to protect somebody or they want to kind of curve smoke and mirrors and it's just to move on and it's just like you kind of know what you're going into. But I loved the idea that there was an elimination there because it just made the anticipation, the build even greater to see who was going to win at the end. So I love the fact that you're right. ECW did that. I completely forgot that as well. That when WWE started doing theirs or WWF at the time, they just went with this. Whoever wins gets the first pin comes out with that
Yeah.
victory, and that was like, oh god. But I love, yeah, you're right. ECW were the guys that weren't doing that. They actually had elimination, so that's good to know. Sorry to cut you up there. You were going through the match, and I just quickly shot in a question. It's something that sprung up in my mind because I was always meant to ask, and I'd forgotten until you'd said. But going back to the main event, the title match in June, tell us a little bit about that, then, my friend.
So yeah, Chris Logan, our champion, he'll be defending the belt against the Frogun,
Right.
D-Ray 3000, who actually was a star in TNA wrestling
Yeah.
back in the early years. And
Hmm.
D-Ray currently or now holds 4 different heavyweight titles from 4 different companies. So
Right.
he's pretty much a gold hunter. You know, like
Hmm.
that's what he does. So it's really the battle of the Frogun versus the Shogun, and gives you kind of like that 1980s, Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon,
Nice. Yeah.
martial arts type film.
Hmm.
Um, on top of that, we have a match that's been literally 2 years in the making. We have Youth Gone Wild versus the Gotch Brothers,
Right.
and this one I truly feel like it can go either way. It could either be a technical masterpiece, or we're going to see a violent brawl break out between those two because
Hmm.
they don't like each other, and this is not like trying to do kayfabe, and they
Hmm.
both teams do not like each other, but that usually makes for the best matches when you have two people who
Sure.
generally don't like someone. We have, of course, a huge hoss fight between Marche Rocket and the debuting Christopher Moore from the Tribunal, and
Hmm.
I think that might be, no offense to anybody else on the roster, that might actually be the show stiller because
Right.
Mark Rocket, as you've seen, is a phenomenal athlete. When you see Chris Moore, the best way I could describe him is Juggernaut from the X-Men, but with the agility of like a cheetah. Like that
Yeah.
dude can move. I've never seen a man
Hmm.
his size do the things that he does. And I
Hmm.
was so blown away when the first time I saw him. I literally had to contact him and was like, "You're booked," just
Yeah.
because there's no one out there like you. So
Hmm.
that match is going to be amazing. The Tribunal versus No Coast has turned into a blood feud, and I have a feeling reason why we're hiring extra security guards in general, it's not just for the fans. That match alone, you guys posted what Tribunal did to one of No Coast's friends. They legitimately tortured the guy, and I was shocked by it. When I watched it, I didn't watch it as, well, that's really good. I watched it as like, oh my god, like this is something you don't see every day. And I'm like, this has gotten violent. And so, I mean, there's so many matches. You have Garrison Creed, the mercenary, versus Zeke Kickham. You have another big brawling match coming up. It's Jay Cross versus the Ewok for the UHC title. And I've been telling everybody about that. I was like, well, you guys wanted the bar brawl. You're going to see with those two because they don't back down. Literally, they're mirror image of each other. And so it's just two big guys going in there just beating the hell out of each other and giving the fans what they want. There's so many good matches on that card. Like literally, when we booked these shows, my whole goal was to never give a fan a match where they're like, "Oh, I can get up and get popcorn from this." It's more of those.
Right.
Need to be seated because I'm about to miss something and I don't want to miss it. And to me, that's when you give fans their money's worth for shows.
Sure.
Coming up, we have a 6-man. We actually have two. People are kind of noticing we have tag matches and 6-man tag matches. That's because as a company, as we talked about in the first interview, we're big on tag wrestling. Our first 6-person tag match we got planned is Wolf Yokai, which is Raven Fett, the Black Wolf.
Yep.
Teaming up with Janaya Kai, who is making her Bloodsport debut for Josh Barnett's show coming up.
Right.
And also Yoya, who you guys talked heavily about. He's a superstar in the making.
Absolutely.
Taking on C-Red, Jackson P. Larkin, who had a great match against Raven Fett on her first show.
Yes. Yep.
And a guy that I feel like is so criminally underrated. I think he's actually one of the best junior heavyweights in the country, and Miles Mercer, who actually had a killer match that I think deserved a lot of credit for how good he is. A lot of people kind of overlooked him with Yoya, but I'm like, man, Miles is a tremendous talent. That 6-person tag match is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Then the other one we have coming up is the Sin City Playboys, which I think you and John said it best. You could actually mute the TV and still feel the fans booing and getting angry at them. And teaming up with Rockstar Johnny Nye, they're taking on a debuting group, Country Air, from Brew City Championship Wrestling from Wisconsin. They're a tremendous tag team. And Jared Kripke, who's probably one of the best Midwest babyface junior heavyweights in the country, too. That's phenomenal talent. So, I mean, the whole show is packed full of good matches. I mean, there's not a bad match on that card that I'm looking at. I mean, there was one. It's almost like, oh, you have to eliminate one match. What would it be? And I couldn't do it because I'm like, everything's really good, So, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of the card. I'm trying to think if I missed any matches. That Chicago Connection group. I know that you guys.
I was gonna say, I was just about to come in with that because they're gonna be watching me with Hawk eyes here.
I have to.
I'll make sure I get them in. Was that? I wonder if that was deliberate there, John. I was thinking, is he just? He's not bringing that in. Something's happened there.
No, I'm having fun with you guys on that. I know I'll rile up P.L. Myers and Cognito Jones. I might have a mailbox cross my head before I know it. But yeah, they're chosen. The chosen one, as they like to pretty much call him, Mr. 3%, Jonathan Hudson, will be taking on collegiate standout and now pro wrestling standout, Chip Walker. And both, what makes this match kind of interesting, it's the debut of both men in the company. So, we're going to see if Jonathan Hudson is the real deal, as much as he says he is, or is Chip Walker going to pull off the Rocky Balboa upset and beat the guy that so many people are saying is the next world champion? So, those matches I enjoy the most because it's a what if. What if he destroys Chip Walker? Cool, but what if Chip Walker beats him?
Right.
And the thing is, people have to understand Chip Walker has nothing to lose.
Hmm.
It is literally, it's the Rocky story, if you really think about it, because John Hudson has all this publicity. He comes from a famous family in music and movies and entertainment. He comes from the pedigree. For the love of God, he's one of those he's one of the guys that can say, "Well, I come from Hollywood," and people were like, whatever. But no, literally, his father is Brett Hudson from the Hudson brothers. He's related to Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell. Like, he's from Hollywood. Like, his family's freaking royalty. And here's Chip Walker, who's blue collar, wrestled here in the region, collegiate All American wrestler, and the guy is a family man. There's no, hey, I came from wealth, I came from whatever. He's literally the underdog in this, and Chip kind of made it known to the Hudson and to the Chicago connection. I got nothing to lose, but you do. If you beat me, great. Guess what? At least I can say I stood in the ring with the guy who might be the next world champion in this company. But you also have to think I might be the guy who beats the guy who says he's the next world champion. Now, what does that make Chip Walker then?
Mm-hmm.
Chip Walker now comes in as the biggest threat in the company after that. So it's that match itself is an interesting match to watch. I'm really looking forward to what happens.
Yeah, very intriguing, very enticing, because for anybody that is not as familiar with Jonathan Hudson, go and check out his interview with the one he done with Jonas, which was a very telling interview. And as much as he's from this great background and heritage and all the rest of it, he's also very hungry.
Absolutely.
Because he wants to do this by himself, and he was talking about some of the sacrifices he's done, and he might be only missing that one key ingredient, which may well be the Chicago connection, John, and that may steer him in a very narrow narrative of a direction. And they're all about making champions. That's what they're about. That's what he's about. That's all he talks about. It's an old school philosophy that I like, because how many times do we hear champions these days ever talk about money that you get with it? Barely, zero. They always want to be maybe politically correct. They don't want fans to see that. But Jonathan Hudson knows he can capitalize with a title, showcases him off even more. And for the Chicago connection, it's almost like that's a massive win for them in terms of them going forward in your company, John, is what we're talking about with this as well. So that's like, it's quite political at the top there for you guys, but I know you're all about opportunities, but I'm guessing you've got to be fearing that a little bit with the kind of influence that they've had, and the fact we spoke last time about 20 years worth that they've had in Chicago, and you kind of being the outsider, I guess, in all this. Do you feel like much of a threat there, or are you very much, no, I'll give you the opportunity, you show me?
The thing with me towards everybody in wrestling, like, I know all about the connection. I know all about their history. I do speak with Mr. P.L. Myers on almost a daily basis. He'll call me in the middle of almost anything I'm doing, and he'll oh, you have time to talk? Well, yeah, sure, I have time to talk, because you work for me, so I'll talk to you and I'll hear you out. I know that they are a threat, probably out of almost any group that's in the Chicago roster right now. I'd say probably next to Tribunal. Because I'm thinking right now, Tribunal's starting to really turn heads for what they're about to do to people. But the connection's history, you can't ignore that. 20 years of excellence. You have P.L. Myers, who's one of the only men that can say that he managed the Road Warriors and managed them to championship gold. He's been in the ring with some of the absolute greats, Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette. He's had a coconut smashed over his head by Jimmy Snuka. I mean, he's been there, done that, and has a book about it. You have Cognito Jones. To me, you look at PL. The best way I could dissect the whole Chicago connection. PL Myers is that architect of that group. He doesn't really have to yell, doesn't shout, doesn't scream, doesn't have to swing at anybody. He knows what he has to do. He's the blueprint. He's the guy who sets out the game plan. Cognito, I'll get to Cognito Jones for a second here. Then you have the guy they call the Kingpin. The Kingpin, Windy City, from Windy City, the original Chicago wrestling company in Chicago. And he's managed champions. He's managed groups that struck fear in people. If you're the guy walking on the street, you see P.L. Myers, Kingpin, and Cognito Jones in the group. P.L. Myers is the guy who's planning how he's going to mug you. Kingpin's going to be the guy that's going to yell at you and frighten you. And while you run away, it's Cognito Jones that actually hits you with the weapon over your head and mugs you. That's the way I compare all three of those guys. They work very well together. And it's one of those things that, they may not even interfere in the match, but knowing that their presence at ringside is there has to be something you have to be careful with, because all three of them will do something to you. So Chip Walker does have his back up against the wall. He does. And as the company, I'm very cautious with them. But on top of it, though, I am a man who believes in being fair. If Jonathan Hudson can build up a winning streak, or he could build up getting large victories in the places that he needs to, then yeah, he'll get a title shot. Absolutely. I won't deny someone, because I may dislike a group. Doesn't mean I won't give someone an opportunity to show what they can do. That's the problem with wrestling today. So many promoters have a problem with certain people, and they go, "Oh yeah, they're on my roster, but they'll never get the fair shake." Well, I'm different. If you're proving that you're worth your grain of salt, and you're proof that people are paying tickets to see you, then yes, you get that opportunity. Absolutely. I just want to make sure that they don't try to take the entire company away from somebody. But yeah, John Hudson will get his opportunity if he proves it. Absolutely.
Well, that's a really big match that I'm looking forward to. Just one of our many that's going to come up on that show, as well as probably everybody else. But I do want to give a shout out to one of my personal favorites coming off the show, which was the rock star Johnny Nye. And I asked on the review show, this guy needs his own cameo. I would be number one on his list. T-shirts, merchandise. I won't have this in the background. I'll have a giant poster of Johnny Nye every week supporting the rock star himself. And one thing I was taken out on my review show, John, as I'm sure you heard, or it got back to you, was the fact that, I felt he was, very unduly dealt with at the show. I feel like, again, whether you believe in him as a rock star or not, this guy, he's got, he's at a certain level of stardom that maybe you are just not used to working with. I don't know. But I did feel sorry for the guy, the fact that he was put in there with an opponent that he didn't have time to prepare for. I know he was waiting for his music. There was a lot of problems that I felt for good old Johnny Nye that I was a little bit disheartened by. For the next show, I know you said he's involved. I just hope that's been put to one side, and I'm sure there was complaints lodged in by his people, but just tell us a little bit about Johnny Nye's star power in Chicago, because he is, like, for me, he's the man. He's one of the biggest stars, biggest attractions. I don't get why people were booing him. I only see stardom in this man. From Grand Zero. Give us a little bit of background on Mr. Johnny Nye, the rock star.
Well, Johnny is a real life rock musician. He's actually has a band called The Deeper End. You could actually, I'll tell you what, I'll send you some of their music.
I'm going to get this written down. I'll be watching this back. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
I'll be making sure I get this much in.
As much that I can't stand that weasel, I will give him credit. He is a talented singer. He is God, this is killing me to say this.
Yeah, I don't know why it's killing you. I think that I sense jealousy, John. I sense jealousy on this one. A musician and a wrestler.
Have you seen the interviews I had to do with him twice for Pro Wrestling Tonight?
I have, and I was
I will have to send it to you. I'm surprised that the FCC didn't pull the plug on my show for things he said. God help us. Basically, he's a rock musician who dabbles with pro wrestling. He's good at what he does. He's probably the world's, next to Howie Mandel, probably the world's biggest germaphobe. I think if he could actually ride around the Pope Mobile with the bubble, he would do it just so he doesn't have to breathe up the same air as everybody else. I will have to give him credit. He's probably the fortune teller of the pandemic. He was telling people wash their hands and have hand sanitizer before we even knew what COVID-19 was. He would when he first came to our studio, and this is way before COVID-19. This is like back in like early, late 2019, early 2020, before we even heard about COVID. He wore a mask. And I asked him, like, are you sick or something? He was like, no, I just don't want to breathe up the same air as all the people around here are. I'd rather breathe in my own air. And I was right in there. I was like, wow, what an ego. Yeah, he just, he had a personal water person at the studio. Like literally, you'll see it on camera. He asked for water, and I see his like this little hand like come across and put his water bottle back, and it's just he was just over the top. But it's really him being himself. He has a running feud with Bon Jovi. He hates Bon Jovi with a passion. They did a show a couple of years back when he did a tour over in Russia, and I don't know what happened. He doesn't want to talk about it, but supposedly they had a huge falling out. And I mean, what you see is really how he is. There's no, oh well, Johnny Nye's a nice guy. Said no one ever. No one's never said that. But I will give him credit. Yes, he can sing. Yes, he can play guitar. Yes, he's traveled all over the world. Yes, he's played in rural bands. Yes, Chris Jericho actually got him a room out on the cruise ship for the Jericho AEW cruise. Surprisingly, Johnny didn't fall off the boat being drunk. God, how this is killing me that putting him over. I hope you know this. That he'll probably.
I hope he's got his press people watching this, just to make sure all this is correct.
He's probably watching this, and he's like, "That's right, keep putting me over." I mean, it's just he is talented, but he's also very devious.
I've got to ask John, first of all, is he going to get VIP when he comes to the events? Does he get his own locker room, hotel? You spoke about some of the refreshments. He's going to need his own water, things like that. Is this all taken care of for June? That's what I'm asking up front ahead of time. I just want to make sure that you're sorting all that and arranging all that out.
Yeah, his manager Bo Anderson has been taking care of all that. So
good.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have like a massage table for himself and baby powder and a million other things that he probably wants. And probably the thing is, he's the type of guy, he'll probably tell you, oh, in my green room, I need green M&Ms in the bowl only. And then you go out of your way to sort every damn piece of green M&Ms out. And then you turn around and he doesn't even touch not one piece of it because you had to touch it for him. So he just makes you do all that extra work just to see if he can do it. That's the type of guy Johnny Nye is. That's the type of guy. This is a guy who at one time put on a concert and took, like those fog machines that you see in rock concerts and stuff. Mm-hmm. He put Lysol in the fog machine so it spray over the crowd. I kid you not.
I mean, that's a smart move.
I mean, you had people coughing their lungs up and people screaming their eyes were burning, and he was perfectly fine with it. It was like, well, at least I'm not getting sick. So yeah, that was 2018, by the way. So that was way before COVID-19. So yeah, that's the type of Johnny Nye is.
Well, from his number one fan over here, John, we all worry for him when he turns up at a Chicago event now after what happened last time. And I was just making sure that I did my bit by at least suggesting to you that he gets better treatment next time. But like you say, his managers put forward those suggestions and ideas. And I'm sure there were lodged complaints from last time. But I'm kind of pleased. I'm happy And I can't wait to see the rock star Johnny Nye again. And you know what? I'm going to have to get him onto one of my shows at some point. But you know, it's going to cost me a fair bit, but it's going to be worth it. Let's put it that way. It's going to be really worth it to have him.
Trust me, he's been wanting to be on your guys' show for quite a long time. For everything I heard,
Yeah.
he loves United Kingdom. Lord knows people in the United Kingdom loves Johnny Nye, but yeah,
I'm sure they do. We'd welcome him with red carpet and the lot. I'm sure he could walk into it. He'd have the key to London, to the city. There you go, Johnny Nye. Ever the day happens. Well, thank you for that nice bit of background there. It certainly warmed my heart on this interview to end it off with, because knowing how big of a fan I am, and I know it hurt you somewhat to say such nice things, but true things as well. We should advocate that as well. John, before we come to an end and a climax of this interview, I want to thank you for taking time out to speak with us. Obviously, you're a massive deal on powered4.tv. We really appreciate the event and stuff you've done for us in the past. It's been a really good experience with you guys. Just give all the listeners some places to go, any podcasts you want to plug, and future stuff coming up for yourselves, buddy, where we can find you.
Well, most importantly, stay loyal and check out Powered 4 TV. To me, you guys are the best of the best of streaming for wrestling in the United Kingdom. You know, people who are wanting to know what's going on in the scene. You guys are our home and always will be. For us, for myself, every Sunday, me and Ewok has been doing our Ewok and JB show. So we're working on a couple of future episodes coming up that we kind of go through stuff. I'll definitely have to get you on as a guest with us.
I'd love that.
A good time, because I know UK time is different.
Yeah.
But definitely have you on there. This part, one of our main things, of course, Steve and C-Rad, the Power Hour show has been doing great things podcast wise. Of course, we also have our other partnerships too with other platforms, High Spots Wrestling Network, Fight TV, Amazon Prime for other people. But we're working on doing some unique events for Powered 4 TV itself as exclusive, so that way the fans over in the UK have something just a little special that not everyone else has had a chance to see. So we're definitely hoping pretty soon we could actually come to the United Kingdom and do something with some British promotions, as we talked about in the first interview, to give people just a little taste of what we do over here. But to me, I just want to take this time out to personally thank all of our fans, no matter where they're at, but especially a lot of the loyal fans we developed in the United Kingdom. Thank you from the bottom of our heart for all of us that work here, from the security to the staff to the roster to myself to Michael Allen, my vice president. We care, and we're looking forward to the day that we can personally meet all of our fans in the United Kingdom. So thank you.
Absolutely well said. And as I say, reiterate again, we're really glad to have you as part of the streaming service going forward. I know that when, since we've been up and running, this is the craziest thing. We've been in this pandemic. We have not had a time where wrestling's been as it should be. So it's kind of, for us, it's got to that point where we've added a lot more promotions. But when this stuff gets going, we're going to be really full, let's put it that way, with shows coming in. Because on our last platform, which was Turnbuckle TV, we're running between 14 to 16 promotions, and you're talking about 2-3 events coming in every week. But with what we're up to now, it's going to obviously be a lot more. So we're kind of like, it's still very new to us, because we still don't know how it's going to work out when things come back to sort of normalistic times, if you will. But we're excited. I just can't wait to get there, because like you say, I think there's great opportunity with Powered 4 where we can connect everyone up, and we would love you guys over. I think you guys could do a tour where you go, up north with some of our promotions, down south with some of our promotions, in the middle, London, all the rest of it. I really think you guys could pull that off, and I think there'd be an intrigue to go and check out Chicagoland Championship Wrestling in that kind of a setting. We could really help you out, especially with that sort of vibe and venue that would no doubt be perfect for that kind of sitting. So I'm looking forward to the future with you guys. I'm looking also more than anything, John. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in person. As I keep saying to all my guests, this is one thing what we're doing now, but I mean, honestly, I'm more of a person that likes to be in front of somebody and talking to them and interacting. This is great, don't get me wrong, and it gives us that, but you know what I mean. I'm a little bit old school like that. I like to be up and close, and I'd love to one day watch your product live, just as a fan, just be sitting out there, and that would be a massive honor for me. So hopefully, fingers crossed, touching wood that I've got here, that will be coming very soon in the near future, but not too soon. Like John said in the interview, we've got to be patient, but it will definitely get there. That's what we've got to remember. But thank you again, John, for coming on. Very much appreciated you taking your time out there, and wish you luck for the future, my friend. I'm sure we'll be back in touch very soon.
Absolutely, John, and thank you, and thank you to everyone at Powered Forward TV for what they all do for us and what they do in wrestling in general. And I look forward to it, my friend. Cheers.